Story 1. My, 26 male, boyfriend, 24 male, has been making sexist comments about my best friend, 26 male, partner, 24 female. I have been with my boyfriend for 4 months and known my best friend for 8 years. We all moved in together in a 2-bedroom apartment 3 weeks ago. Neither me nor my boyfriend knew my best friend's girlfriend much beforehand. I would say, however, that she has been an excellent roommate. My boyfriend has been making sexist comments to me about her from the beginning. He accused her of only getting into college and only getting her job because of her looks, and said she doesn't seem that smart for someone in her occupation. He said it was BS that the girl here is making more money than all the guys. He always calls her the girl here. He accused her of not doing enough chores, even though she was doing her fair share without having to be reminded, in contrast to my boyfriend who always avoids them. He said she was too obsessed with her career because men don't care about women's careers, and suggested she should be more focused on improving her body instead. Then, when she bought a new smart TV for all of us to use, he accused her of rubbing her wealth in our faces to emasculate us. This morning, he asked me to sleep with him before he had to get ready for work, and I said yes. Then he started complaining how it's so unfair that the girl here can get a good 9-to-5 job while I have to work Sundays. I told him, it sucks that you have to work today, but I don't understand why you seem to resent her so much. Then he said, come here, we don't have much time. I told him I don't want to bang a sexist. He started throwing a tantrum and accusing me of being secretly attracted to her and not seeing her flaws because of that. When he left, I was feeling absolutely disgusted by my boyfriend's misogyny. I don't know if I should just break up with him or if I should tell my best friend and his girlfriend about any of the things that he's been saying behind her back. I'm honestly embarrassed that I've even tolerated it for so long, but I don't know how I should proceed at this point. Yeah, I'm sorry, that is some pretty gross behavior and most definitely misogyny. And look, it's something I hate, but you see it a lot amongst certain people in marginalized communities. Obviously, you and your boyfriend are part of the LGBTQIA+ community, and that's great. But it is a community that has had to struggle and get through some real crap. But sometimes you see in these communities that they start to target other people who have been marginalized because things are maybe getting slightly better for them. Women were just as marginalized and have struggled in our society, and they're still struggling. Things are not 100% better. But sometimes you see different people in marginalized communities going after each other, and it sucks because we should all be kind of supportive of each other and not resorting to this. Even if she, in this one instance, maybe got her job because of her looks, which, how the hell are you going to prove that? But fine, if she did, so what? You don't have to be making those remarks. Yeah, I could go on about this. I could make a whole essay about this. But best I can say is I would have a really serious talk with him about it, and if he's not going to change his way, I wouldn't blame you for breaking up with him, because yeah, I would not want to be around someone who's talking like that either. There's some understanding for putting up with it. Don't feel too bad, because sometimes we just can't believe that someone we love and care about would be like that, and we're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt or whatever. But yeah, eventually enough is enough. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister use the family property for her upcoming wedding? I am 25, my sister is 29. I also have a younger sister, 8. When I was 14, my mom sent me to live with her parents. Her excuse was that they needed me to help out. I believe she just didn't want to deal with a growing male teen. My grandparents owned an amazing property in the mountains that has an amazing view. We also have some horses and other critters. They were also quite wealthy as well. They both passed 4 years ago, a month apart. They gave me the property because I would appreciate and respect it more. While my mom and sisters got money and other assets overall valued more than the property. In the past 4 years, I turned part of the property into a venue for mainly weddings. Grandparents knew of this idea and thought it was a good one. We are busy and usually booked about 8 months out. My sister got engaged 1.5 years ago and said she wanted to get married at the property. I said yes, just let me know the date as soon as possible so I can make sure it is booked. I never got a date. I followed up several times and kept asking her, and she would brush me off. 2 weeks ago, I got the wedding invitation stating the property is the location and the date, which is in September of this year. I immediately called her to say that we have booked for that date and can't accommodate her. Well, now her, my mom, other family, her partner's family, as well as other flying monkeys have been blowing up on me. They're also calling and writing reviews for my business. I asked them to stop and call my sister, telling her that literally all she had to do was tell me when she knew her date so I could block it and I would take care of everything else. She went off on how I'm ruining her day. It is our family's property. How she already sent out the invitations and couldn't go back now. I should just tell the other couple to cancel. They've been on the books for over a year now and I actually like them. Family is more important. After the last big blow-up, I started communicating strictly through the business, using our recorded line as well as email. I suggested 3 other dates around the same time, but that's not good enough. I'm being resentful and an a-hole. Your sister and your family suck. I'm sorry. You tried over and over again to get a date, and then she sent out invitations without checking on the date from you first when this is a business for you now and it's your property. I don't care what her or her family says. They're in the wrong 1,000%. And at this point, I wouldn't even offer them another date. I would say, you're not the kind of folks that I want to deal with. You can't have your wedding here at all. I don't care if the date is open and as free as can be. And the fact that when you said no, that they started writing bad reviews about your company online is so gross. Why would you ever try and make amends with them, at least concerning this? No, screw them, screw her wedding. They suck. Story 3. Today I effed up by letting one rip in front of my boyfriend. I, 21 female, been seeing my boyfriend, 25 male, for almost a year now, and he's a pretty good guy. He's just a little more proper than me. He won't fart or burp in front of me, and he probably expected me to never burp or fart in front of him. I've told him, though, that I think farts are hilarious, and my family farts in front of each other all the time, and my grandpa even rates them out of 10. Since my boyfriend finds it disgusting, though, I haven't shown him my full fart potential until today. We had eaten Mexican food earlier, and it didn't agree with me super well, and I had to pass the gas pretty bad, but my boyfriend was with me in the kitchen. I had to think of a diversion and asked him if he could take the trash out for me, and he said yes and took it out the door. He wasn't even gone a second when I ripped one that almost vibrated the house. I was glad that he didn't witness the mass destruction of my pants, but when I turned around, he was staring at me from the back door. He had forgotten to put his shoes on and was coming back in. I've never seen such disgust on a face before, but he definitely thinks I'm nasty now. I think my grandpa would have given me a thumbs up and a 10 out of 10 on that one. I think your boyfriend needs to lighten up a little. It's fine if he doesn't find farts funny. I don't understand that mentality. Farts can be quite hilarious. My Great Dane farts every day. And I'm not kidding. It is prolonged, And before you get on me about diet, we have checked with the vet multiple times and been praised for what we're doing, so shut up. But yeah, if he doesn't find farts funny, that's fine. But they're a natural body function. They happen. And if you're in your own house, you fart where you want to fart. The people who are if you're going to fart, excuse yourself to the bathroom first. Fine. If that's how you want it in your house, fine. But what? So, good on you for your big hilarious fart. And boyfriend, just chill out a little. Story 4. My mother-in-law tried to stop my wife's life-saving treatments. Allow me to introduce you to my late mother-in-law. I'll call her Carol for the sake of variety. Though I've heard many stories about her, for the most part I'll stick with things that I witnessed myself. There are enough of them. I don't think Carol ever met a New Age concept that she didn't like. Her expressed goal was to synthesize all religion, science, and mysticism into a unified whole. All of it. To this end, she amassed a large collection of books and stranger objects from her travels, with an especial focus on healing. Her library had volumes about vibration, manipulation, curative, trampolining, homeopathic color therapy, and on and on. I'm not joking or exaggerating here. Her shelves had lots of, admittedly, pretty mineral crystals, along with bottles of magic goddess essence water, evaporated away, and bogus radon protectors, powered by diagrams of geometric figures. Her favorite book, based on the number of annotations and sticky notes, was hundreds of pages of word salad about spiritual beings from the star Arcturus. That's Arcturus spelled with an H because of H-bar, Planck's constant from physics, except that Planck's constant is denoted by H, and H-bar is the reduced Planck's constant. It's important to get the details right when you're dealing with spiritual beings. Her pentagonal home was custom built around an energy vortex that she discovered in the coastal peaks of British Columbia. Carol's parenting was, how shall I put this, more darkly eccentric. She was physically and emotionally abusive to her children. One still has some pencil lead embedded in his hand from when she stabbed him because she wasn't satisfied with his piano practice. She attacked one with a kitchen knife. She started S-shaming her daughter, later my wife, as soon as she grew breasts for growing breasts. So she forced her daughter to wear 2 large bathing suits with the apparent intention of making said breasts look smaller by contrast, but with the actual effect that there were wardrobe malfunctions. She was ashamed that her daughter went into medicine and became a noted specialist rather than supporting her own non-traditional medical work. My wife got the hell out at age 17 and moved across the country to go to university. For most of the time after that, she went relatively low contact. A decade ago, my wife suffered from a surgical error which resulted in abdominal sepsis and asked me to call her mother. That made me understand just how deadly serious the situation was. I was to call in the family for what might be the last time. I hadn't grasped that her life was truly at risk until that point. Nothing less would have induced her to try to get her mother to visit. To her credit, Carol hurried out for what was supposed to be a couple of weeks. It was expected that at that time my wife would be either dead or on the road to recovery. Carol stayed in our home, and at first things didn't go too badly. For the most part, we just didn't talk about the treatments that my wife was undergoing. Carol did express concern about the antibiotics that were being given, since according to her own views, antibiotics did nothing but harm. But a couple of weeks stretched into a couple of months, and Carol became harder to live with. She was angry when I stroked my wife's hair with my hand because I was blocking the energy from her chakra. She started blaming me for having somehow caused the nausea that the botched surgery was supposed to cure. I drove her out to pick up a magical concoction of essential oils on the condition that she check with one of the doctors before applying them. I pointed out that if the mixture had the power to heal, then it also had the power to cause harm, which Carol denied. When we got back to the hospital, I nabbed one of the residents when we reached my wife's floor to ask about that. Carol became furious about that, and it was clear that she had no intention of talking with the doctors. At home, she became more abusive to me. She was claiming that I was abusing my wife by not letting her have her things in the house. At that point, I lost my temper. The first thing I'd yelled at a person in literally a couple of decades. I told her that almost everything in sight was actually her daughter's, displacing my stuff. The sofas, the piano, tables and chairs, the bookshelves, and the electronics. The shelves for the CDs and DVDs were mine, but half the contents were hers. Carol wanted to know if I'd be continuing the herbal remedies after she left, and I told her that that was up to my wife. I'd continue them if she wanted, I'd stop them if she preferred. Carol screamed that I was abusing my wife by following her own wishes rather than her mother's. On the night before Carol was finally supposed to be heading out, I was restless. That particular nightmare was about to end, but my wife was still quite ill. I got to thinking about that essential oil mixture, which included both oil of cloves and oil of cinnamon. Those are both strongly irritating if left on the skin, and Carol had been painting my wife's feet with the stuff. Her feet were apparently the correct energy points to draw out the infection. I went online and found the manufacturer's instructions, which specified that the oil needed to be significantly diluted with some neutral oil if it was going to be applied to the skin. Carol hadn't even been properly using the stuff properly. Well, that explained why the skin on my wife's feet was yellow and starting to peel. But Carol was furious when I calmly pointed out the problem that she was creating out of ignorance. A few days after Carol left, my wife took a turn for the worse and had to go back into the intensive care unit. And I dreaded the phone call that I had to make, not because of the bad news, but because I anticipated how Carol would react. And she didn't disappoint. If you really loved her, you'd put her back into the herbal oil and stop the antibiotics. You know perfectly well they don't do a damn lick of good. At which point I hung up. I had other things to worry about. My wife pulled through, after months in a hospital and 3 stays in ICU. She's still in poor health. I told her that I was putting my foot down. Under no circumstances was her mother welcome under my roof again. She had grossly abused her privileges as a house guest. I didn't care about the family custom that family members were always welcome to stay as guests. I would not stay under the same roof as her mother. Having heard my stories and based on her own experiences, my wife agreed. A few years ago, Carol died, much as she had lived. She was diagnosed with metastasized lung cancer. Although she did undergo some real medical therapies, she relied mostly on her quack remedies. Pawpaw tig powder, whey protein, immune boosters, and the like. The usual crap that ethics-free swindlers pawn off on desperate sufferers. She firmly believed that all the little white spots on her lung x-rays were a good sign and that her rapid weight loss indicated that her boosters were draining the cancer away. If there's some existence after death, I hope she came to appreciate all of the harm that she did in life. Except, a couple of nights after she passed away, I was driving from the hospital back to the Energy Vortex house. The rental car's navigation device suggested a shorter route that I'd taken to get there. But that route turned into a back road, into a rough road in the hills, into a track through the forest, and in pitch darkness, apart from my headlights, over a rocky bump and directly into a tree trunk. Luckily, I was traveling slowly and stopped in time. As I paused, shaken, I got to wondering if there might be something to Carol's worldview after all, and if her vengeful spirit might have possessed the GPS device, making one last try at killing me. So I am not opposed to the idea of herbal remedies for certain things and, traditional medicine, but there needs to be some amount of study and proof behind it, which normally leads to it becoming medicine. And especially when it comes to stuff that is life-saving and dire and hey, this person is in a critical condition or is suffering from cancer or something like that, and you're like, the crystals will extract all the badness if you just place it in your butt. No, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to go with medical science, and even if you want to believe that, and that's what you want to do, fine, that's up to you. Don't push it on someone else, and don't try to sell it for a profit if you can't prove its effectiveness. That's why there's studies and science, okay? And some of this stuff, some of these natural remedies may work. They may be beneficial. There's, but usually there's evidence behind that. Science can go, yeah, you know what? If you have heartburn and you take a little baking soda, it gets it away because, base acid, that's, it's obvious. It works, okay? So, I'm glad that this person's wife is okay and that herbal remedies did not do her in. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for canceling my birthday party because my parents cut my sister a slice of my custom cake the night before my party when she cried for it? My sister, 11 female, is the miracle golden child. She always gets what she wants whenever she wants. My parents are always trying to please her and make her happy. They always make a big effort on her birthday and do whatever she asks for, but they can barely remember mine and they're always conveniently broke. This year, I wanted to enjoy my birthday, so I babysat and even mowed lawns to make this possible. My birthday was a few days ago and the party was scheduled for the day after. I've been planning for weeks and invited all my friends. I bought the food, snacks, and drinks and picked up my custom-made cake, which I was really excited about. It was just perfect. The night before the party, I noticed that my cake, which was in the fridge, had a huge slice missing. When I asked my dad, he shrugged and nonchalantly said that my sister was crying because it was just a small piece my friends wouldn't notice. I yelled at him asking why he would do something like that when it wasn't even bought with his money and that my sister could have waited for tomorrow. This made him angry, and he went on a tirade about how I think I'm an adult because of my stupid party, implying that I did everything myself and did not ask them for anything. I ended up calling it off because I was not able to change the location last minute and didn't have the means to, and I was so hurt I didn't want to host it at home anymore. One of my friends told me that calling it off was an overreaction and that I could have just grit my teeth and gone through with doing it at home rather than canceling just hours before. First off, your parents suck. I know I've just been saying people suck in this video, but I'm getting kind of mad at this crap. That's not okay behavior, and for the dad to act like that and be like, you think you're an adult. The person has rights. They babysat. They saved money and bought their own stuff. It's theirs. Just because you're the parent doesn't mean you get to just be like, well, you're not an adult, so mine, I can do what I want with it. You're a bad parent. You're not a good parent. Second, just giving in to an 11-year-old all the time is how you end up with entitled D-bags. You give them what you want when they want it, and they're always going to expect it and grow into adults who always expect it, and they're gonna suck too. So I guess if your goal as a parent is to make someone who sucks as bad as you, good job parenting, but don't do that stuff. Was canceling the party an overreaction? I don't know. Like, it would have sucked though, because it's not just that the cake is missing a slice, but now you're at home where your parents who just betrayed you and are treating you like crap are. So I think I get it. I wouldn't want to have a party around them either. I probably would have still done it, but I don't think it's an overreaction. I think that's your call to make. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.